Hi everyone, my name is Liz King. I'm going to give just a quick overview of my job, how I got here, hopefully give some helpful tips and tricks in case you also want to go down this career path. So my area of expertise, I work in an industry called medical communications. We typically call it MedComms for short. And essentially what this is scientific communication to lots of different groups, typically doctors, nurses, anybody in healthcare is who we work with. So usually how it works is in medical communications, you're working for an agency, and the agency serves as a consulting partner for pharmaceutical companies. So essentially what happens is the pharmaceutical company contracts these agencies, and then you're doing really whatever they want done, whether it's drafting scientific content or facilitating different types of meetings that they want to hold. So there's lots of different things that it could cover, but in a nutshell, it's basically communicating scientific content to a wide variety of audiences in healthcare. As far as my background, I took a slightly different route to get here. So I did graduate as a dietitian. I completed the dietetics program up at Utah State University. And then from there, there just wasn't really anything in the dietetics career path that really spoke to me strongly enough that I could see myself doing it forever. And so I decided to go to graduate school. I continued on in graduate school and graduated in 2021 with a PhD in nutrition science. And that's essentially how I was able to get my foot in the door into medical communications. As an FYI, there are people within my company and people that are hired with master's degrees only. You don't have to have a PhD. It's typically preferred to have a PhD to work in this industry, but it's not required. I have several colleagues that have master's degrees, so not a requirement, but just preferred. So yeah, I kind of took a slightly different path. Most PhDs end up doing teaching and research. And as I graduated, it just wasn't speaking to me. I didn't want to necessarily do my own research, but I really liked the aspect of, understanding research, reading literature articles, summarizing those. I felt like that was kind of my skill set versus, doing my own research and trying to publish and do all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of, it worked out perfectly for me. I was able to meet somebody who was also in this career, and they were looking for dietitians at the time because they had some nutrition accounts that they wanted dietitians to be experts on. And so that's how I was able to get my foot in the door. But typically, how it works is if you have a background in a specific area, whether it's oncology is a really popular one, or dermatology or immunology, any type of medical type role, or whether it's like a specific disease state, if you have, background in that, or you've been able to practice in that area, that's typically the best way to get your foot in the door with these types of positions. Like I said, I kind of got lucky as a dietitian and was able to go and work on some nutrition accounts that they have within the company. So, and then I've also worked in other areas now. For example, right now I work in nephrology, in a specific rare disease in nephrology. So once you're kind of in, you're actually going to get tossed around all over, and you'll get experience in lots of different areas. I've also worked on oncology accounts. I've worked in immunology accounts. So your experience will diversify a lot. If you're in medical communications, you'll work on lots of different types of accounts. As far as what a normal day looks like, it really varies a lot depending on the type of projects we're working on. Some days are really stressful, some days are not as stressful, but in general, your typical day is going to look like a mixture of meetings, both internal meetings with your team and also external meetings with clients. And then hopefully, if you're lucky, you'll have enough time to get some of your work done. So ideally your day is not stacked full of meetings, but usually it's a mix of meetings and then working on whatever type of project you're working on. As an example, I'm working on an advisory board meeting right now, and I'll be traveling to that meeting. So essentially I'm responsible for the content that's being presented. So I draft the content, I make sure it's in a really good spot, and then it's what is presented, and the clients will present it at their meeting. So that's what I've been working on, and so a typical day is typically consisted of getting that content ready, meeting with the clients, all that kind of stuff. My favorite parts of the job are definitely the flexibility. I work remotely, so I work from home. It's really nice. I could really go work wherever I wanted to as long as I had my laptop. So it's really flexible in that aspect, and I think a lot of companies are moving that direction, but MedComms specifically, a lot of it is remote work. It's kind of interesting. Most of my colleagues are on the East Coast, so most of what I do is virtual. When we have live meetings with the clients, I get to see my coworkers, but typically that's only a couple times a year. Some teams travel a lot, so you could find a position within medical communications where you're traveling all the time. If you're working directly for a pharmaceutical company, you'll probably also be traveling all the time. So it's just kind of, what you want it to be. But as far as my job specifically, I do work remotely, so I really like the flexibility that provides. I will also say that typically positions in this industry are higher paying than a job that you would find in academia, so that's also a plus. It's not the whole thing. Definitely, they can rope you in with a high salary and it sounds really glamorous, but work-life balance is also very important. I think when you first graduate, it sounds very appealing to just go out and find the highest paying job possible, but once you stay in that position for a couple years and the stress increases, sometimes you realize it's not the most important thing. So just something to keep in mind. It's nice to have a comfortable salary, but you also need to weigh out, the responsibilities of the job and make sure that that's not impeding too much on your life outside of work. Qualities or skills that are required to thrive, I would definitely say you need to have really good organizational skills. At the level that I'm at, I'm typically overseeing 4, 5, 6 projects at a time, so you need to really be able to organize, prioritize, and think through, exactly what needs to be done on a daily basis. We have accounts people who are designing the timelines and letting us know exactly when things are due. So you need to be able to, understand what you need to get done on a daily basis to be able to meet those deadlines. What else? I would say definitely interpersonal communication skills are really important. It's important to be able to communicate clearly with people. A lot of my job is communicating with clients, and so being able to not only be friendly and build rapport with them that way, but also, getting your message across clearly. Sometimes you have to make recommendations to the clients. A lot of times you do. And sometimes they'll have an idea and you need to be able to communicate why it's not the best idea to them without being rude. So it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of interpersonal communication, and having an attention to detail is also really important for this job. But yeah, I would say top few skills would be high communication skills, organization skills, prioritization skills, and then also just having somewhat of a higher stress tolerance. I wouldn't say if you don't thrive in a high stress environment, medical communications is a pretty high stress environment, and there's multiple projects cooking at the same time, so being able to manage that is really important. The most challenging part of my job is probably the stress. So if we do have multiple projects, it can be pretty stressful at times, multiple deadlines to meet. But if you're able to manage that, it works out at the end of the day. As far as the most frustrating, I guess I would say also the clients can be really frustrating. you will not have friendly clients all the time. Some of them are not very nice. And so that can be another frustrating part of the job, is just dealing with difficult clients and not taking things personally, understanding that it's just business and they're under a lot of stress as well. Any tips? So let's see. Tips for getting into this career: it definitely helps to have a background in it. Like I mentioned, if you're looking for jobs in this career, typically they're going to be something along the lines of scientific director. That's what my company calls the position, but different agencies call them different things. But in general, it's like a scientific director position, and then you would be looking for an entry-level job in that. And yeah, I would say it's not the easiest industry to get into, but if you do have any kind of experience, then it makes it a lot easier to get into it. So I'm happy to provide my, excuse my dog barking in the background, provide my communication or information to Dr. Day to get back to you guys, but let me know if you have questions. I'm happy to talk further about them. Good luck in your guys' careers, and have fun in Jen's class.